Hello, everybody. Welcome once again to Cheap Heat TV Live. I'm your host, the king of all wrestling media, Gene Jackson, along with my co-host,
Not
Mr.
Brad Cash.
Charles Anders, aka not Brad Cash, because we're here for episode 5. Where tonight's guest is not Brad Cash. It is, in fact, our surprise guest, Mr. Scott Hensley. Scott, how you doing tonight,
Hey.
sir?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you, man. We were planning on having you on soon, and then just so happened that Brad Cash suddenly became unavailable, and we got lucky and got you on here tonight. How was your Thanksgiving?
It was really good. Went up to East Tennessee and actually got to hang out with 77-year-old Don Wright, wrestling
Oh
legend,
wow,
Ron and Don Wright. Yeah,
wow, that's cool. I've learned a lot about Ron and Don Wright via the Ron Fuller wrestling podcast. He's had some very interesting stories about those guys on there.
yeah. Don Wright talked about wrestling a bear, and he talked about trying to make towns while working full time. And he said that the Nashville booking office agreed to pay his transportation, but they thought he was going to drive. But him and Ron actually flew a plane, and they were pissed off because of all the fuel cost or whatever for them to fly their plane to Nashville. But he talked about working on a Friday afternoon and then trying to make it down to Birmingham in time to wrestle. And he said they would go 90 to 100 miles an hour just to make it there. And he said, you go to the ring and you don't even know who you're wrestling.
Wow, that's what's wrong with these punk kids today. They ain't never wrestled a bear before.
Yeah,
Have you,
True.
Sanders?
that's true. I have not.
We're gonna work on fixing that. I'm gonna find a working bear and make that
Excited
happen.
for it. Brett Jackson.
Next year's
Close.
Scenic City, we're gonna have a grudge match between Charles Anders and a bear. That might, if you agree to wrestle a bear, you might actually get booked.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
probably not, but
That's true. Yeah.
Probably not.
Maybe.
in the pre-show dark
Yeah.
match,
The Rumble. I have to do a pre-show.
yeah, you gotta be in the you and the bear in the rumble.
Yeah. I go under, of course. Plenty.
Well, obviously,
Maybe
because
we'll have
you
some.
know.
Go ahead.
There you go. We'll just put that up on the screen.
Gene
Gene Jackson and Charles Anders, aka the Unbookables. That's our new gimmick now. So yes. So what's new? How's the pandemic treating you, man?
Everything's pretty good. We did get the Scenic City Futures event in back in October. Had a lot of good reviews on that, and just had a really good crew of guys come together and just really put on a good event there. I've had some guys get some bookings from that, and that's sort of the goal is to get guys seen and give them a good platform. We usually try to raise money for good causes, but weren't really able to this time. But Matt from Action Wrestling has been very busy and keeping me on as ring announcer there and help out a little bit behind the scenes. And so we've gotten to still do some action wrestling. He's doing double headers down there. The next one's December 11th. But he's had some really good stuff down there. He's got Anthony Henry and Shug D coming up. They actually trained together like 19 years ago or something, and here they are again. You know, they're both sort of world travelers at this point, and Anthony says that he's going to be done with the independents coming up in January. So we'll see.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing, and of course, Shug D's got the biggest exposure of his career during the pandemic, so it's working out for some people. So I'm glad he's one of them. And I understand the Futures event can be seen on IWTV. Is that right?
Absolutely, yeah. You can
Cool.
use code ACTION as a code to get a free trial.
Cool. So folks should go check that out.
Uh, let's see. So, Scott, let's see. Who's been probably the most interesting person you've worked with? I know you've met like a lot of and you do and that's even like baseball because I know you like collect cards and stuff like that. Who's the most interesting person you've met?
Oh man. Uh, I would say Paul Adams was really interesting. He was a Nashville promoter who actually recently passed away, but he was this man of mystery. Like you never really knew what was going on with Paul, but he always had these like really weird ideas or just I don't know. Like at one point he booked Christian Haim and Mike Posey as a tag team, and on his sheet on the run sheet it said Mike Posey and Posey. Like I, I I thought, and I went and asked him about it. I said, "Hey, what's up with this? Is this a typo or something?" He goes, "It is, but let's keep it." I said, "What?"
All right.
He said Posey is much more funny than Christian Hay.
Well, yeah, he might have a point there, but
Poor Christian. But if you've watched the series Glow, the main character guy that runs it, Mark Maron's character,
right.
that's basically Paul Adams. Like he just had this attitude where it's just like you could not face him. I mean, we had that's the only show I've ever worked where I had to physically restrain someone. So we had this giant dude. I cannot remember his name. Maverick Summers, Galen Summers. He was a West Tennessee guy. Looked sort of like John Cena actually. Like he was 6'6" or 7, giant dude, jacked, former military guy, and he's walking through the crowd and he smacks popcorn out of this man's hand, and then a referee gets in between him and some fans, and he shoves the referee who hits a man who hits a little girl, and then the little girl's dad jumps up and he is angry as can be, and our like inept security guard guy is like 5'7" and probably not all there. That's I'll be nice and say that. There's words for it, but they're all offensive.
No, good.
So, uh, so this guy is chasing after Maverick Summers, and Maverick is a big dude, but he doesn't actually want to fight the fan. So he goes and he tears down the entire entranceway trying to get away from this fan because the guy is legitimately going to attack him, and there's nobody in between him and this fan. And if he gets his hands on this fan, like Maverick would kill this guy. So he's doing the right thing and moving away. So he goes through the entranceway, tears the whole pipe and drape system down. Like it just comes down all on top of him, leaving me and this guy who's trying to get him. So I have to body check him into these stands where it was, I guess, like folding stands where they bleachers. So I body check him into these bleachers, and then finally, like the security guy and maybe the referee is up by then. They go over there and help this guy, and then Paul comes out and he's just like, "Hey, let's go talk." It's like, "What are you doing, Paul?" He's like, "I got this." And so I asked him after the show. I was like, "What did you do?" He goes, "I just gave him free tickets to the next show and a hot dog." Like he was just.
He's good.
There you go.
That'll do it.
In a promoter's mind, there's nothing a hot dog can't buy.
That's
So let's see. We've got one comment so far, and it is Scott Morgan, unbookable.
Scott
Yes.
Morgan feels my pain.
Matthew Glover says, make sure to get some marketplace stories because Scott is infamously infamous for his dealings in marketplace with all these people trying to sell him baseball cards and Lord knows what.
Yeah, so I had somebody that messaged me and they said, "Hey, can you meet me at like 3 a.m. at the hospital?" And it's like, no.
That way, when I stab you and rob you, you won't have far to go to get sewn up. So
I guess. I mean, I mainly have good dealings, but there's just some really weird people when it comes to just trying to meet up. I mean, as you know, with wrestling, just trying to get somebody to agree to a time and a place and a purpose. Like, I don't know. People are weird.
The worst. The worst.
It's very weird. I did have a good I had a good dealing today. I had a guy that came and bought almost $2,000 worth of baseball cards from me today. So
wow.
Yeah.
So
That's some good
ballpark
dealing.
figure, how many baseball cards do you own currently?
So my personal collection, I probably have about 50 to 60,000 signed baseball cards, just signed ones, and
Wow.
then unsigned ones in complete alphabetical order. I have about 70 to 80,000.
That is
So,
amazing. Holy cow.
so literally, if I'm downtown in Chattanooga and I find out somebody's going to be somewhere, I can pick up the phone, call my wife, and if she's home, she can run to my boxes because it's in alphabetical order. She can pull the cards and she can meet me wherever. Like we did that with Todd Helton. Uh, he's a
I know who he
really
is.
well-known baseball player for, borderline Hall of Famer for the
Yeah,
Colorado Rockies, and he
Will
was at a
Smith.
golf tournament here in Chattanooga, and somebody's like, Scott, Todd Helton's here. And I was like, oh, okay. So I called my wife and I was like, hey, go to the H box and pull Helton. And so she did. And she came down with a pile of cards and he signed 3 or 4 for me. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. Shout out to your wife, because I mean
Oh,
that's a
yeah.
good woman right there. That'll go dig out the baseball cards and bring them to you in a few
Absolutely.
seconds.
Yeah. I asked my wife even before we got married. I said, if I died, what would you do with all my cards? And she said, I guess I'd try to get them all signed. And I was like,
Oh,
So
I would
she's
say
great. Yeah.
retire. I
Oh,
would just
yeah.
say retire immediately. Retire. Throw them all. Sign them, sell them all, and be done with it.
Yeah, Rosie says she'll keep all my wrestling crap if I die, but I figure it's going on eBay or Carry.
The
just
beaches,
just
huh?
don't get stuff personalized. I might want some of your stuff.
That's true. Some of that stuff's coming with me. I've already told her. I'm like, few of them things you're going to throw it in the box with me. She's like, sure, I will. Don't worry about
Yeah, I got you, Gene.
that. So I didn't really freeze. I just faked y'all out there.
Oh no, the connection wasn't good when we started.
Y'all's face was like panic, like, oh god, what are we gonna do if he freezes up?
I'm not surprised.
All right, Xanders, we'll let you stay in the driver's seat. You're doing
Oh
pretty
man.
good.
Okay. Yeah. So you've been doing. So how long have you been doing Scenic City now?
Scenic City started in 2015, and I've been involved with wrestling since 2006.
So well, I know you've been doing.
Yeah.
Did you do? Because I know you do a lot of writing. What did you originally start out doing?
Well, originally I would just go to shows as a fan and write
Yeah.
reports, and some of the first reports I wrote were Full Throttle Wrestling over in Elkmont, and guys like Insane Lane and Cabana Man Dan, Christian Haim, Orion Bishop, and it's so cool for me now here. That was probably 15 years ago, maybe more, and 15, 16 years ago, and now like I'm still doing shows with Cabana Man Dan and Orion Bishop, and
Yeah.
I just hung out with Christian Haim probably a month or two ago, and so it's so cool to have those relationships from some of that first stuff. But Full Throttle Wrestling was rocking and rolling with some independent stuff. They were one of the first promotions to really bring down sort of the indie darling guys, and I hate that term because it's so derogatory. Those guys earn that to get buzz about you. That's actually a positive thing,
Mhm.
but of course, local guys are going to spin that and turn it into a negative sounding word. But Elkmont was bringing in guys like Chris Hero and Sterling James Keenan, who's now Corey Graves. They were bringing in some of the area guys. There's Smooth Pleasing with FTW was the best. He's a little biased there. Uh, but another guy that I still talk to every now and then to this day. That's just a really cool guy from FTW. So it's one of those situations where it's like iron sharpens iron. And if you go somewhere where there's a lot of really passionate, talented people, then it just rubs off. It's contagious. And that was absolutely true about FTW. And I think Chris Castle, the guy that ran it, will tell you that, it was not a success probably financially, but I think it just ran him into the ground. But I don't know how bad or whatever, but at the same time, it definitely or left a lasting legacy. And they partnered up some with they partnered up some with IWA Deep South before everybody realized just how off the grid Kevin could be sometimes. Uh, Shout out to my good buddy Kevin Brannon there. But
I've heard.
Kevin has done a lot of really good things and really bad things for Southern wrestling and Alabama wrestling, like the commission. But yeah,
He's gonna be on. He's gonna be
Neck and
on.
neck, man. That's
He's gonna be on.
yeah.
Definitely.
He's character. The first time I ever met Kevin Brannon, my buddy and I did a double shot of. We went up this is like this is like a wrestler's double shot, but we were just fans. So we ran up to Dayton, Ohio to Ring of Honor on like a Friday night. And then Saturday we came back to Pulaski, Tennessee for a Carnage Cup.
oh God.
Those two places are not close
No.
together. If you're a geography whiz, it's probably like
Well,
7-8 hours
I was
apart.
gonna say other things
Beyond
too.
geography, they're very far apart. Ring of Honor and Carnage Cup.
So we got there early, and I met Kevin, and I said, you have these events, and I had been to a Carnage Cup or two before. I said, you have these events, you're bringing in these guys, and I think he had like Viking there from either Canada or Germany or wherever he was from, and he had Sexy Eddie from Canada, and he had just all these crazy guys that I knew he was flying in. And I said, Kevin, I said, I have a master's degree in business, and I'm just wondering, like, how do you afford to do this? And he goes, well, man, and he's rubbing them hands together. He said, well, man, I just figure if I didn't put these shows on, I'd spend the money on DVDs. It's like, you can't argue with that.
That's the thing that's always amazed me about Kevin, because he books shows for Kevin.
Yeah.
If they draw, great. If somebody else wants to see it, great. But he books whatever he's into at the time, because if you go back now and look at the timeline of things he's done, you can see when he's really into death matches, he's sinking money in the Carnage Cup. Then he became a fan of Chikara, and that's when LXW showed up. Then he became a fan of $5 wrestling, and that's when $10 wrestling showed up. And then he got back into death matches, and suddenly there was a resurgence in Carnage, the Carnage Cups. But he books the people he wants to see, and if, people show up, oh well, But I have been amazed to sit back and see some of the money he has spent over the years. What he'll admit to, some of the times, he won't tell me, what it cost him. But oh my gosh, I mean, just. I've met and seen a lot of people and worked with some people that I never would have had it not been for Kevin. So
absolutely,
there's that.
He's brought some guys. Smooth says Eddie and Viking are from Canada. Gotcha. They're and he doesn't do it halfway. He's all in. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's guys that Kevin has brought in that nobody else has ever brought to the Southeast. I was talking to somebody recently, with the passing of Tracy Smothers. Kevin did a 2-day tournament in 2 different places where he had like Michael Elgin and Devin Moore and Sabian and Drew Gulak, Chuck Taylor, and then Tracy Smothers. And all these other guys were booked in this huge 2-day tournament thing that was in 2 different locations. And I was down there with a buddy from Chattanooga, and we hung out at the hotel, and I got to sit in the hotel room with Tracy Smothers as if I belonged there, and just listen to him tell stories. And it's one of the coolest things I've ever experienced, because of the way that he just treated everybody like they were, family. And I joke with people about the way that he tells stories, because you can tell he spends a lot of time around people that know absolutely nothing about wrestling, because he's like, I don't know if you guys remember, and then he would say a name, and sometimes it would be like some random person like Bugsy McGraw, and like people are like, sorta, yeah, sorta Bugsy, yeah, or some people are like, yeah, I know Bugsy. And then other people, you'd be like, so he brings you along with him, but then it would also be like, I don't know if you guys remember Owen Hart, and you're like, yeah, Tracy, like
A little bit.
Yeah.
it's like, yeah,
I've been around for some of that. It is fun.
yeah,
Y'all remember Rock and Roll Express? Yeah, they were here last week, Tracy.
yeah,
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, y'all know. All right. Well, here you go.
yeah,
The first time I ever laid eyes on Michael Elgin or heard that name was when Kevin brought him in. I had no clue who he was, and then fast forward a few years later, he's on Ring of Honor. I'm like, the first time I saw him was in BFE, Alabama. Like, I've begged Kevin over the years, like you mentioned, those 2-day tournaments. Like, he's all about 2-day tournaments. I'm like, man, you could get this done in one night. Like, you do not have to drag this out over 2 days. Oh no, man, people like 2-day tournaments. Then it's 2 DVDs and all that kind of stuff. But I used to love when he'd bring Larry Sweeney in all the time, and then listening to him on commentary with Smooth there was a lot of fun, seeing it. And I know he had to, because Larry Sweeney, in my opinion, was born 20 years too late. Like, if he would have been in the territory days, like in Memphis and Continental, he would have been freaking huge. And I know he had to love, like, coming down here and working with Bullet Bob Armstrong and Brad Armstrong. Some of those, I mean, they had some great matches, and I know it had to be right up his alley.
And he's a guy that I think it was either 20 years too late or probably 10 years too early. I think he's a guy
he fell
that
right in the middle.
I think he's a guy that, if he were still with us, could be like a big star of something like NXT. And I don't know if on the main roster, if it would shine through, but I think at a place like NXT, I think it would absolutely shine through.
I think, yeah, in the ring, I think, he could be like the modern day Jesse Ventura as a color commentator on NXT or AEW or even Raw or SmackDown if he had the chance. I mean, he had a gift for for talking, and he was great as both. He was one of those rare guys, that was he worked out great as a manager or as a wrestler. He was believable as either one.
Yeah. Larry was great. He was shocked how hit the crowd was. Hot the crowd was, I'm sure. Yeah.
There you go.
Hey,
there you go.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I've
that's
heard a lot of the northern guys talk about coming down and working for the first time in front of a southern crowd, and that's really interesting. Guys like Nick Gage or somebody like that, where they're used to just a really like vulgar hot crowd where you have to just beat the crap out of people to get a reaction, and then you come down here and it's like, he pulled my hair, and then people are like, no, it didn't.
Yeah, it works every time. Yeah.
I got to work one of Kevin's shows and did commentary with Sidney Bacabella from Shikara.
Oh, yeah.
And he was in hog heaven. I mean, he said he had never gotten heat so easily. Like I said, you just walk out there and look at somebody and they wanted to fight him,
Oh yeah, basically.
And he got to meet Bullet Bob Armstrong. He marked out hard for that. But so we were doing commentary, but he was also managing in one match. And so right before he went out to his match, he goes, I'm going to do something that I don't know has ever been done, but that's what you get your opinion after it's over with. I'm like, okay. So he goes out and they do the finish of the match. And I don't remember who it was, but the finish was he's managing the heel, obviously, and the babyface, pops him and lays him out at the end of the match. He's gotten a ton of heat. He cut a big, long promo. He cut some promo on some veterans in the front row that were ready to literally murder him. And so the main event was a cage match. So after his match, there was going to be an intermission, and they were going to set the cage up. So dude lays Bacabella out. He's face down. All right, we're going to go to intermission. Bacabella lays face down in the ring through the entire 20-minute intermission. They're putting the cage up around him, and the guys are like, hey, get out. And he won't move. He's playing dead. Like, he will not move until the intermission's over. And then he makes people come in the ring and pick him up and carry him out, which now is pretty hard to get done through the door of the cage. I don't know if you've ever had to step through a cage door, but it's not the most So they had to work him out the door and then carry him back to the dressing room. And of course, as they're carrying him out, they're still just giving him, hell. Like, oh, you suck. That's what you get. That's what you come back down here again, Yankee. He was so proud of that. And I remember standing back there at the back with Armstrong. And he's like, "What's the hell that kid doing?" I said, "He's selling." He goes, "You don't see that too often, brother."
Oh yeah, I think it's Forgetting Sarah Marshall where he goes and is talking to the guy about surfing, and the guy's like, "Do less, do less, do less," and so he eventually just lays there. He goes, "Well, you got to do something." Like with wrestling, I feel like it's that way with wrestling and psychology stuff. Like so many guys feel like it's all about the moves. I actually went to the Joey Mercury seminar that we hosted at Scenic City, and he just talked about how wrestling is the least important part of wrestling. He goes, "Who comes to just like amateur wrestling shows?" He's like, "Nobody," or like amateur wrestling events. There's a couple big programs around the United States of big amateur wrestling stuff like collegiate level, but as far as just some pop up amateur wrestling thing, who goes to that? Like nobody. It's not the wrestling that draws people in. It's characters and stories and making people care, and it's just crazy how you can watch guys do double moonsaults over the top rope to the floor, and they jump up, and people are just like, "Oh wow, okay." And then you watch somebody be like, "You suck." And people are like, "No, I don't suck." And it's like people go crazy for just interacting with them and making them care about you. It's crazy the difference there.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest difference in the Southern crowds is they come for that interaction. Like they're going to let out all the frustration they've had this week out on this heel wrestler, where the Northern crowd wants to see the spots, they want to see the wrestling. I don't think the Southern crowds really, in most areas, not everywhere, but say Piedmont, for instance, back in the day, didn't care what they saw as long as they could get out there and yell at somebody and cuss at them and threaten them and all that stuff. They were having a big time, That's what it's all about.
Yeah,
well, it's a movie. I mean, it's a movie that you get to yell at and interact with. That's exactly what you want to do in kind of entertainment. So
yeah.
So what's y'all's opinion on this? Smooth says MJF is kind of like Larry Sweeney to me, at least on the mic. What's y'all's opinion on that?
I mean, he's believable. I mean,
Larry Sweeney can put himself over, though. Larry Sweeney always put himself over so well. Everybody thought that he came off. He's way better than MJF. I mean, I don't pay not the way I probably should.
Well, I know you don't like MJF for whatever reason.
Well,
I mean, whenever he comes up,
That's not true. I think he's really talented. I think he deserves every spot that he gets. But no, Larry Sweeney was once in a generation top guy. Like that kind of promo is like Bobby the Brain Heenan style promos. Like he could come in and make a huge difference and just make everybody believe that he was the best, or he at least thought he was the best.
But I don't know how much you guys have seen him. But you know who reminds me of Sweeney a little bit these days?
Who's that?
Dylan McQueen. The fact that he manages and wrestles, and I see a little bit of Sweeney, in him more so than MJF.
Yeah, he's a guy that everybody is high on. Dylan McQueen. I mean, I recently got to watch him and Kenzie Henry win the tag championships down at New South.
Yeah, they beat Two Fly Ty and Dylan.
Yeah,
prefer to pronounce.
I mean, they told us. Yeah, Dylan. Yeah, they told a story that everybody was into. They made the crowd care, and Dylan McQueen was really in everybody's face, and it. I think people want to like an underdog type character, and I think traditionally, like a smaller female is going to be the underdog character that people want to cheer for, and so I think Dylan being out there definitely helps Kenzie turn up the crowd work and everything too. The sort of in your face attitude. So they were really able to polarize the crowd, and it's a Southern tag team match. It's one of the easiest things in wrestling to get a big reaction on is picking somebody to work over and having, a clear dynamic of who is good and who is bad.
Yeah, I've reached out to Dylan about coming on the show, and he's actually interested in coming on. We're just trying to
Good
get
deal.
a Sunday worked out where he can come on here. I've actually got some questions for him. I'm interested in hearing, like, for instance, and maybe it'd be interesting to hear your take on this, Scott. But one question I have for him is, back in the day, you had people who did gay gimmicks for heat because, especially in the South, back then, if somebody was gay, they're getting yelled at and booed in the street for real, much less at a wrestling show. So you could play that gimmick for heat and it was all right. There was nothing wrong with it. Well, now, not the case. It's not cool to yell at somebody or be mad at somebody over being gay. So does it make it hard to play a gay gimmick as a heel now? And because from the crowd's perspective, it's like, well, he's being a jerk, he's cheating, he's doing all these things, so we're going to boo him. But then again, in today's society, you got to make sure you understand that we're booing him because he's cheating, not because he's gay. The whole Seinfeld theory of, not that there's anything wrong with that, but and so for like from his perspective, does it make it harder to play the heel? Do you have to play that in mind, or you just go out there and do what you do, and it is what it is? I don't know, but to me, it's kind of a heady subject of, do you have to put a lot of thought into that on how it's going to be taken by the crowd and, what's too far and shit like that. Stuff like that. I'm sorry, Charles.
Well, I think it's, people aren't booing him because it's not like, boo, he's attracted to men, boo. It's boo, he's this super flamboyant, over-the-top diva that's yelling at us. Like, that's why they're booing him. It's his gimmick is not his sexuality. His gimmick is a flamboyant stereotype that we've come to maybe see, homosexual people as, but it's offensive to think that. But at the same time, it's that he's so in your face, and he wears the pink stuff out there, and it definitely triggers people in the Southeast. But it's not just that he's LGBTQ or whatever. It's that he is so in your face with it, and it's the flamboyant nature of it. And somebody like, I think about like Adrian Street. People booed him because of that, and I think there was definitely homophobia in their booing with that. But at the same time, it was the theatrics of it is what I would ultimately say got the reaction.
That's another thing too. That was the weird thing about Adrian Street, was like, people knew Adrian Street wasn't gay. So the whole point of him doing that was to get heat because he had his wife out there with him. But then what became funny is, over time, he became a baby face by doing gay things to the heel, and then their reaction to it would make people cheer. And so by today's standards, you couldn't do that either, because now if he goes and messes with the heel and the heel is like, oh God, don't touch me, then they're like, oh, you can't get mad at that. Like the whole gold dust thing, would not fly in today's society.
I think that's where Effie is at this point. I think people have fallen in love with Effie because he's such a great performer, that they don't want to boo Effie. They want to cheer for Effie, and even as much as Effie dials it up or dials it down, whatever the case is, I think people want to cheer for Effie because there's been a brand that's created there, and Effie is such a presence on Twitter and just in independent wrestling.
I saw a show from Tullahoma, Tennessee.
Oh no!
And we all know Tullahoma, Tennessee. The crowd in Tullahoma, Tennessee. There was a tag team match. It was Effie and Jimmy Felcher,
Juicy Jimmy
against Donnie Primetime at the time. He was not yet Janellified yet, tagging with Daniel Perez. and they did a spot, and a crowd of people in Tullahoma, Tennessee actually chanted, "Make it gayer," over and over. And I was like, we've reached a strange time in society, because like there's a time in Tullahoma, Tennessee, oh, you come out here and do that kind of stuff, we're gonna take you out back. And now them same people are saying, "Make it gayer." So it's wild times.
I do have some clarification on that. So I grew up in Tullahoma, graduated from Tullahoma High School, and that was actually a Wombat event. So that's was Brett Lauderdale and GCW coming down and just wanting to run something silly, and they did. It was absolutely awesome. So the crowd was not their regulars. So
Yeah.
I went to the latest Wombat show, and I have two funny stories. So the first one is the wrestler GQ. If you've never seen GQ, he's this really skinny guy that's just absolutely insane, just tough as nails and crazy as anything. And so he goes through a table on the outside to the floor, busts his head open on the concrete. They take him outside, and I think Owen Reed was there, and I think probably breaking kayfabe or whatever. I think he's actually like a paramedic, and there's something medical, more medical than the other people around him. So he's
Right.
looking at GQ, and he's asking him some questions, and GQ's not sure or whatever, and he's like, he needs to go to the hospital. He definitely has a concussion. And his wife was there, and she goes, "If he didn't go to the hospital for a bullet wound last week, he ain't going for no concussion."
Oh,
Then Owen said he asked GQ. He said, "What's your name? What day is it? Do you know what town you're in?" He goes, "Who's the president?" And GQ goes, "Donald Trump." He goes, "Okay," and he's
he's
back.
fine. He's fine.
So, second story. So I'm in the crowd, and I'm just sitting there, and like it's probably 2 or 3 matches in, and the match in the ring is Tommy Rich and Mike Jackson versus Mance Warner and Manders, and they're just doing silly stuff because it's Tommy Rich, and Mike Jackson can definitely still wrestle, but at the
Yeah.
same time, he's in there with some guys that are just telling a silly story. And so this family comes in during that match. There's already been a couple matches, so the stage hasn't been set for them as to what is going on here. They think it's just another SWF wrestling show.
Right.
So they come in, and they're sitting beside of me. It's a man, a wife, or man, a woman, and a couple kids. And this match is happening in the ring, and they're doing silly stuff, and the crowd's popping like crazy and everything. And I hear the woman say something to the guy, and the guy turns to her, and he says, "I don't know. Everybody else seems to be having fun." And then they got up and left.
Wow.
She was probably like, "This is stupid."
Yeah.
Well, I like it. Shut up.
But yeah,
So-
growing up in Tullahoma was interesting with SWF. I got to
can
see some
imagine.
just insane Gypsy Joe matches. I've told people about the time that I saw Tim Renesto and Gypsy Joe wrestle, and Joe had these stitches all the way down his forehead. Probably like, I don't know, like 9 stitches. And in the middle of the match, Renesto pulls out a saw and saws open the stitches in Joe's head.
Oh
And
my
it's
God.
like, come on, guys! It's like there's 100 people here, and there's no way you're getting enough to pay for like a proper medical stitching of that wound.
Did you happen to be there for the famous Gypsy Joe New Jack
That was
incident, for
not
lack
in
of a better word?
Tullahoma. That was in Columbia, I believe. It was, I think it was Freddie's Auction House in Columbia. So I was not there, but a guy that used to run, uh, well, he was our ring guy here in Chattanooga, Dustin Golden. He was actually booked on that show, and he talked about just how insane it was. But he said that, people were calling New Jack, every, racist word in the book. And
Oh yeah.
he said that New Jack just didn't know about Gypsy Joe, and he wasn't on board with this whole no selling thing. And then Gypsy Joe didn't know or care about, the legend of New Jack or whatever is just another guy to him. So it was just a colossal clash of attitudes and egos, and they got out there, and we've all seen the video, and
Oh
it's rough.
yeah.
It's rough stuff.
And then hearing New Jack describe it in shoot interviews and in the Dark Side of the Ring and everything is like just crazy. So we have once again, second week in a row, we have Cabana Man Dan making an appearance in the comments here. Made a comment about the Wild Irish Rose reference that Smooth mentioned, and then he also commented on that same show that you're talking about. Said watching Tommy trying to use a vape backstage that was handed to him was funny. The technology was too advanced. Hey, what's this thing, man?
So Tommy Rich was there at that Wombat show, and I had some old vintage pictures. One of them was actually a dual picture of Tommy Rich and Tojo Yamamoto that Tojo had already signed. I bought a collection, and that was in there. And I wanted Tommy Rich to sign it. And if you go to like a WrestleCade or something, Gene and I have been to several of those where guys sit and sign probably for a promoter. Like Tommy Rich is not usually a cheap autograph. He's usually $30 or $40 a pop. So when he was in Tullahoma, I was like, bam, here's my chance. So fired up. Yeah. Cabana Man Dan's quote there.
That's an unfortunate.
So Tommy Rich shows up, and I hit him with these 3 vintage photos, like from probably the 70s or maybe early 80s. And I said, I got 3 photos signed, and I said, what do I owe you, Tommy? And he goes, oh, how about $5 a piece? And I go, here's a 20, keep the change. So then my buddy comes up and he goes, hey, can I get a picture with you, Tommy? He goes, sure, buddy. He goes, that'll be $5. And my buddy goes, wow, really? And I go, Tommy, you're undercharging. He goes, $10. My buddy goes, what the heck? Have you guys ever heard Nigel Sherrod's story about Tommy Rich and the dog picking up the dog on the way to a show? So so Nigel has done some big hosting stuff for some pretty big wrestling stuff, and he's been a wrestler for, I don't know, probably almost 20 years. But he is primarily in the Georgia area, but he got booked on a show with Tommy Rich, and I guess the promoter asked him to go pick up Tommy Rich. So he goes to pick him up, and they're going down the road, and there's a stray dog on the side of the road. And Tommy goes, hey, let's pull over and pick up his dog. And Nigel's like, what the heck? Like, why are we picking up a dog? And Tommy's like, hey, just pick up a dog, He goes, I'm going to raffle it off at the show. And Nigel's like, you're going to what? So sure enough, he picks up this dog, and they take it to the show, and Tommy gives it a backstory, and he tells everybody, I'm moving, and I just can't take this dog with me, and I just like to get a little rehoming fee. So he got like $40 for this dog. So somebody's like, I've got Tommy Rich's dog.
Mike Jackson and Burt Prentice would be so proud of Tommy Rich for that. Oh, look at that, Pat Rose.
All
Legendary
right.
Pat Rose dropping in the comments.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
I've gotten to induct Pat Rose into 2 Hall of Fames. I got to be a part of his Scenic City Hall of Fame with NWA Chattanooga, and then he actually asked me to come down and induct him and Randy Rose into the Alabama Wrestling Hall of Fame. So that was really cool. I was very honored to do that.
That's awesome. Yeah, Tommy Rich kept me from going to jail one time. That's probably the weirdest wrestling story that I have. I don't know that I've ever told it on a podcast or not.
I've never heard this.
Have you not? Would you like to hear it quickly?
Yeah.
No, let's go. Yeah.
All right. So me and Neil Taylor got booked on a show for this. There was this money mark named Rick Ivy who was doing some shows around North Mississippi. This was in 98 and 99. And so we got booked on the show for this guy. And so we go down there, and it's at a big, they call it Balloon Fest down in South Mississippi, where they had all these hot air balloons. So it was a huge event down there. I mean, there was literally 10,000 people there, not to watch wrestling, but just there. Of course, it's one of those things where we're having wrestling at the event, so we can say there was 10,000 people there. And so, we get there, and so Tommy Rich was on the show. Buddy Landell,
Wow.
Tommy Rogers was on the show. Mabel was on the show. Greg the Hammer Valentine, Jake the Snake Roberts, all these freaking names. He booked a pile of names every one of these shows. But anyway, Doug Gilbert. So anyway, we pull in and I said, hey, we're here to wrestle. Where do we go? And they're like, well, drive across there, hang a left and cut across, and then you'll see the tent down there. So we start driving, and then there's just people walking across. We're driving through people. So we go down, and Neil's like, hey, right here's where you need to turn. So I hang a left, and I maybe I turned a little fast considering there were people around. I didn't think it was that big a deal. So I hang left, and I go and get out, and we're getting our bags, and we're starting over to the tent. And right before we walk in the tent, Tommy Rich is standing there. And at the time, we were both working in Corinth, Mississippi every week. So he's like, hey, War Machine, what's going on, boy? And by that time, this cop hollers. He's like, hey, what are you doing donuts for out there? Then people said you about ran over them. And we were driving in a car with no air conditioner. We had drove 3.5 hours to get there. I was in no mood. And so I just trying to go, we didn't nearly run over anybody. I don't know what the hell they're talking about. I was like, we didn't cut any donuts. And I just walked on in a tent.
Yeah.
Well, we get dressed and everything and go out and have our match. And then we come back. Tom Rich goes, hey, come here. I was like, okay. So he pulls me over the side. He goes, hey, man, you just about got your ass put in jail. I said, what are you talking about?
Jeez.
He goes, first of all, let me give you a life lesson, son. You don't be mean-mouthing no cops. He come back here. It hurts my voice to do that, but you got to do it. Fired up. He said, hey, man, you can't be mean-mouthing them cops. They'll throw your ass in jail whether you did it or not. And you sure can't be cutting donuts in front of folks. And I was like, Tommy, I didn't cut any donuts, okay? I'm like, the back end may have whipped around a little bit because it was grass and it was kind of wet. He's like, well, I told him you was a good kid and everything. And he said, well, Tommy, if you take up for him, I ain't going to carry him to jail. He said, of course, you can smell alcohol on his breath. He seemed like he was half lit, but just know your ass almost went to jail.
Jeez.
Turning into Whitey Jenkins instead of Tommy Rich now. So after that, every time I worked a show with Tommy Rich for like the next 3 years, when I would walk in the door or he would walk in the door, he'd go, hey, it's the donut man, and I ain't talking about glazed or powdered neither. You done run over any kids on the way in, donut man? So that was my name with Tommy Rich. So, Tommy Rich kept me from going to jail, of all people. So that's my claim to fame in wrestling, I guess.
That's a great story.
So, I'd like to have him on the podcast and have him tell it, but I doubt he remembers it. Like I said, that was in '99. He's had a few beers since then, so.
You guys had asked about some of the interesting promoters I've worked with. One that I chose not to work with, there was a guy, and I've told this story recently, but I run an account on Facebook called Noah Tall, Noah, and then Tall. And
that's you?
Their big reveal. Yeah, it's not
Hensley.
It's not a secret that's me, but I try to make it not some kind of shooter account where, I'm, taking shots at people or whatever. I try not to say anything on there that I wouldn't say to somebody's face. But at the same time, I try to make it like situational, not like personal or professional. But so I had a guy contact me and he said, yes, I am such a know-it-all. So there was a guy that contacted me and he said, he goes, hey man, my church secretary told me that you're the guy I need to talk to about running a Christian wrestling show in Chattanooga. He said, I was trained by Terry Bam Bam Gordy and Dusty Rhodes. My name's Iceman. And so immediately it's like red flag, red flag, red flag. And so I started asking around about him, and apparently he probably set up the ring at some shows in Cleveland, Tennessee or something, but he was 14 or 15 and certainly nobody trained him.
Right.
And supposedly he did work a couple local shows, but nobody really vouched for him. And they were certainly wasn't trained, by Bam Bam and Dusty. And so I messaged him back and I was like, look, man, like it just like you don't have a lot of credibility with this. Like nobody can vouch for what you're saying. And he's like, well, let me send you some scripts of what I want to do. And it's like, oh no. And it's like red
Yes.
flag, red flag. And so he sends me these like run sheets, and it's like Iceman defeats Ricky Morton, and then on the next one, Iceman defeats Raven, Iceman defeats Rick Steiner, Iceman defeats Buff Bagwell, and I said, look, I was like, I don't know your heart or whatever, or what you're wanting to do with this, but this is going to cost a lot of money, and it's going to come off like a giant vanity project. And he said, man, you need to check your heart. He told me that. He said, you're being so judgmental. He
Oh
goes, he just wrote me this huge email running me down and everything. And so then there's a part two to this, because like the very next day I get this email, and he said, Scott, I just want to apologize to you. He said, I went to the Hamilton County Baptist Association with my vision, and they said I need to come talk to you.
Oh my gosh, that is
The-
crazy.
one of the guys at the Hamilton County Baptist Association here in Chattanooga is a close friend of mine that I went to college with. So when he heard like Christian and wrestling, he's like, "Oh, Scott Hensley." But I mean, even the guy's own church wouldn't let him have it there. And I mean, if your own church won't let you do it there, then I mean, it's like huge red flag. And he did eventually like plan. He ran one show at the TWE Arena in Chattanooga, and so there's a local manager, Steve Dave or Sean Thompson, and Sean helps out a lot at TWE, and he was there. And that guy said, "Hey," he goes, "that guy needs to buy a ticket." And Grandbud, that owned TWE at the time, he said, he goes, "No," he goes, "he doesn't need to buy a ticket." He goes, "That's he helps here, he works here." He goes, "If anything, you need to pay him." And he's like, "Pay him to do what?" And he goes, "To write a report on your show." So the guy goes, "Well, how much do I pay him?" And I think Steve Dave said he got paid $40 to write a report on that guy's show, and
Oh my gosh.
he just bombed the show because it was terrible. So he buried the show. He got paid forty
And got
dollars to
paid more than
bury
probably
that
most
guy.
of the wrestlers
Oh,
did.
so
Oh, God.
yes. So then he ends up booking Steve Dave to book his show. He said he was going to run Red Bank Middle School, and then which Steve Dave reached out to a bunch of people and stuck his neck out there to try to get some guys booked. And like a day before the show, the guy says, "Oh, well, the school's having air conditioning problems, and so you know." Oh, they can't run, or they can't let us run. And like supposedly he didn't even have a ring. He definitely didn't have insurance. And it's just one of those things where it's like, man, like, I smelled this clown from a mile away, and I told Sean about it. But Sean wanted the opportunity, and I can't blame him. But at the same time, it's like, man, sometimes, if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, there's a lot of great people that we can work with, and then there's a lot of people where it's obvious that they have no idea what they're doing.
But yet, still, if they got a few bucks, they can weasel their way in
Oh
and
yeah.
ruin somebody's ruin somebody's opinion of wrestling.
Oh, no
Yeah.
kidding. Yeah. I mean, I feel like for music, people feel like, or people know there's different kinds of music. Obviously, there's folk music and country music and rap and rock music, and there's different levels of that. But for independent wrestling, people know that like there's WWE and then everything else, and it's like no, it's like no. There's good shows
Yeah.
and bad shows, independent wise. It doesn't all have to be the worst show you've ever seen or
They
can
think it's
think
Boaz,
of. Like,
Alabama. They can think it's Boaz, Alabama with midgets and
Buff Bagwell.
with the building. And yes, they do. It's awful.
and people advertised as Black Superstar.
Well,
Which was it was his idea.
he is
That's the worst
black. I
part
don't know
about
if he's a superstar, but
yeah, no, that was his idea. So that's how. Yeah, no, it's awful all the way through.
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
Awkward.
that's the goal. If we can get Mickey Henry on here one week, that'll be
Man, that'll be a
that'll
get.
be a fun show. I can imagine the comments.
Oh yeah, because I mean he'll promote the piss out of it.
I
Get those
mean,
flyers up.
Well,
with those guys
you'd
like
have to
that, though,
bring him somewhere where he had access to the internet.
there's a lot to be said good also for those old guys like that still find a way to do it. And I mean, I know Mickey was influential in Buff Bagwell's career many years ago, and for him to be in it as many years as he's been doing it, even if we don't like it, he's obviously doing
He's a
something right.
carny. He's just a
Yeah,
carny. It's
yeah,
unbelievable. If you want to
yeah.
learn how to be a carny and make it in this business, follow his career because he does it in the carniest way possible. And yes, I love Billy Adams. Billy Adams is about in the same boat.
I don't know Billy.
Billy Adams is like one of Mickey Henry's. Yeah, he would. Billy Adams is one of Mickey Henry's kind of like gopher kids whenever it was early on, whenever they were in my hometown in Albertville, and whenever they had a lot to do with like Buff. And yes, Boaz is still running
Every Saturday night, Pat.
every Saturday
night.
They get maybe they draw well enough to make him happy. But so Billy, one time the cops were looking for him, and no, I'm sorry, they were looking for somebody in Boaz because they're always looking for somebody in Boaz. And so they came up and asked Billy what his name was. And Billy had no idea what his name was. He kept telling him his name was Billy Adams. And they eventually had to find his ID to do it. It was awful.
So
I had
to answer Smooth's question, correct me if I'm wrong, Charles, but isn't Billy Adams behind Bad Boy Pro that's happening in Hanceville now every other week or however often?
Look, it's still been told by Billy. So if anybody's gonna tell me,
his picture was on the poster for the first few weeks, and he's the bad boy of Bad Boy Pro. So.
I do know who Billy Adams is now. Pat Rose wrestled Arn Anderson in Boaz. I mean, that's how far back it goes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He's got a legacy there. I mean,
it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, when Arn first started his podcast with Conrad Thompson, he was telling stories about starting in Boaz, Alabama, and I was like, "Wow, that actually legitimizes some of the things I've heard, Mickey tell over the years." Because I've met Mickey a few different times, at least 3, and I say met him because each time he acted like it was the first time we'd ever met. Once, when me and Neil Taylor went and wrestled at his show. The second time was when I was managing a car lot in Albertville, and he showed up wanting for me to advertise on his show. And he comes in, "Hey, I'm Mickey Henry. I trained Arn Anderson, and I trained Ray Traylor, and me, and I don't remember if I think it was him and Arn. He claims were like NWA World Tag Team Champions. They beat the Russians." And every time I met him, he's like, "Hey, I'm Mickey Henry," and he ran down this resume of BS and some of it's kind of true. I mean, Arn started in Boaz. He didn't get trained by Mickey. Ray Traylor passed through Boaz. He didn't get trained by Mickey. And I don't think him and Arn were ever NWA World Tag Team champions. They might have been ACW World Tag Team champions, and they might have beaten Jack Lord playing a Russian or something like that, but it wasn't the Koloffs by any stretch. Heard Arn cussed Mickey's name when brought up. Probably so. And then there you go. J-Mo is confirming, yes, Bad Boy Pro is ran by Billy Adams in Hanceville, Alabama. So there you go.
And New South is kind of sending guys down there. I mean, almost like developmental territory. Guys are going down to Hanceville and getting some extra work. And I mean, it's a cool little venue. It's the first time I've ever been down there. CMD says apparently he was trained by Mickey too.
Yeah, if you have any success, you were trained by Mickey Henry one way or the other. Memphis Monroe, Andy was not trained by Mickey Henry, just so you know. But yeah, to hear that Bad Boy Billy Adams runs the developmental for New South.
I'm not saying he runs it, but he's I don't know.
I mean, you didn't say that directly. But yes,
according to Scott Hensley. Don't
There's
get mad.
Strange bedfellows within professional wrestling sometimes when somebody has a nice venue.
Right now, the screens are just.
Gene, is it on your end? Scott, I
Disappearing.
can
There's a
hear
little
you.
circle spinning where Scott.
Oh,
Hey, he's now Xander's is back. We're just waiting on
yeah,
Scott. Unstable internet connection. There he is.
I see him.
All right.
You guys are good on my end.
Okay. We had a Smokey hit the internet connection, didn't he?
Computer Man Dan says
William
Billy is
Regal.
the William Regal of Bad Boy Pro.
Heck yeah.
Oh,
Terrifying.
that's fun.
Terrifying.
And good old technical difficulties. Yeah. You're not over enough to be claimed by Mickey Memphis Monroe. Yeah.
That's why he retired.
Not technical difficulties, but random crazy difficulties that have happened at an event recently. Well, I guess it's probably been a year and a half, 2 years. But we were in Saudi Daisy, Tennessee, with a Scenic City Invitational, I guess, in 2019, and somebody came to me, and this is probably an hour before doors, and they said, Scott, I'm trying not to bother you because like the promoter, like you have to delegate stuff as the promoter. Like you don't want to take on it. It's like, I can't figure out the popcorn machine. It's like, I don't care. Like just it's like you do that. Like especially when like the school's getting the money for that. But somebody came up to me and they said, okay, I'm trying not to bother you, but we have a problem. I said, okay. And they said, there is a giant pipe and water is pouring from it and it's going to get into the gym in just a minute. I said, what? They said, do you want us to call the fire department? I said, no. I said, let's go look at it, as if I have any idea what I'm doing. But it's like, I know better than to call a fire department an hour before doors. And so we go, and underneath
Uh-oh.
giant, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle looking, and water was just pouring.
Oh. Am I the only one not hearing anything?
Oh yeah, no, I was hoping that it was just me dead. Is it?
Okay,
Do
me
we have
too.
dead air? Okay, yeah. Well, we have
He's
absolutely.
completely froze.
All
But
right,
when
good.
you guys disappeared for me, Smooth posted he could still see y'all, so I was checking to
Yeah,
see
I think it
if.
was on your end on that time. It seems to be on Scott's end again, but yeah, I heard Ninja Turtle pop, and that was that was the last
Yeah.
I heard of that. Well, that's unfortunate. Well, I mean, we're at what, an hour and 2 minutes right now.
Yeah, so I mean we're needing to take it home anyway, so
Yeah.
we'll see if Scott pops back in here to say
Yeah.
his final thoughts. But whoa, he bunned out on us.
He bunned out right
There he
on
is.
us.
He bunned out completely.
Unfortunately, we didn't get to the 3 count. I'll be daggum. Whatever
Well,
we're
I didn't
talking.
have any questions lined up this week because
I didn't either. Thanksgiving's been real rough all me. I thought Friday was Monday. Oh man. Well, that was fun. I enjoyed that. That was really interesting. I mean,
it
it's
was.
something we can. Waddy Jenkins is the man. Uh,
That is
but
true, Andy. He is.
yeah, he'll be on
And
here eventually.
just to clarify here,
Uh,
J Mo started wrestling at Mickey's, but Robert Lee, Charlie Swinger, the Mob, and Michael Pleasing trained him. So
I was trained by Mickey.
just want
The
to
Ninja
make that
Turtle
clear.
pop. Yeah, that's good. Well, okay, but that was good because, and we can hopefully we can get Scott back on here another time. I appreciate him coming on really short notice because Brad's a piece of garbage, and
Jeez.
I mean, he's not listening. He
Oh
clearly
boy.
is.
All right. So let's.
Well, yeah. But yeah, no. Next week, if y'all didn't see the 6th, it's going to be Gary Lamb. I'm pretty excited for that. That was a good get for me. That's going to be my ace in the hole.
Of Southern Honor Wrestling,
Southern
and
Honor
so
Wrestling, yes.
yeah,
Really smart guy. He's got a really bright mind for the
and
business. A
so
lot of businesses.
yeah, Gary Lamb the following week. Who we got the following week on the 13th?
Yeah, we got Bubble Cable, which
the
is
mayor.
the mayor,
Bubba Cakeable.
But well, hey, Look, dude, you're running, and I'm. By the way, I'm still, and I know the lineup, and I'm still looking down at the scroller to see who we have. But
All
here we
right,
go. We
Scott's
got Scott
back,
back.
just in time to tell him we're taking it home.
Yeah.
I thought he was frozen. I thought his hands were frozen in the air like that, man.
Yes.
Yeah, so
But go
I don't
ahead.
know where I was at with that story, but quickly, there was a pipe. There's a bunch of water running out of it under stairs. It was this giant, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle looking pipe under the stairs at Saudi Daisy, and somebody ran in there with me and just started turning these big dial things, and eventually the water shut off.
There you go. No need for the.
Yeah.
I mean, I found you don't need to call the fire department unless something's on fire. They've got their own water. They don't need to come deal with water, so they get a little upset about that.
Oh man.
Yeah, I've dealt with like management enough in my real life that being a promoter is just exactly like that. Like you said, it's the exact example you gave of like, well, how many popcorn kernels do you want in the bag? Or do you want the Cokes over here or the Pepsi over there? Is it okay if we sell Dr. Pepper? Like, I don't care. Like, why are you asking me this stuff?
That's me as an employee.
Yes. As we've covered on here before, Charles Anders used to work for me in real life, and he's that guy. Hey man, this guy wants furniture. You want me to sell him some? You're a salesman. Figure it out, okay? But
okay.
no, he wasn't that bad. But he was a better furniture salesman than he is a podcast booker, apparently. Because
yeah,
first show that he booked, Brad Cash no shows, but he did save the day because he did book Scott. So
Woo!
Scott came through, and I would like to have Scott as a regular recurring guest on here, and especially like if we ever get to the point where we're reviewing some shows and thoughts, would love to have you in to have your thoughts and reviews on different shows that go on and maybe preview some shows and stuff like that. And you've always got fun stories to tell, so yeah man, we'll be in touch.
I'm also, in past years, I've done a top 100 list for Georgia wrestling, and this year I think I'm going to do top maybe 200, 250 for Tennessee, Alabama, and Georgia. So I'm going to have like 250 or 300 people or more mad at me. So once I come up with that list, I'd love. Yeah, I don't know if Charles Sanders even still wrestles, so I don't know if he'll be on the list or not. Like,
we would love to have you on and discuss that list, and I'm sure Charles will get mad and storm off in the middle of the show once he sees he's not on it. Or
I hope so.
How many matches does one have to have in a year to qualify for that list, Scott? If it's more than 2, he's out.
So yeah, used to be in past years, I would say, they would need like approximately 10 matches a year in Georgia, and Sanders is out.
Yeah.
So this year I'll probably try to do like 5 or 6 this year since COVID stuff. But
Sanders hadn't watched 10 matches this year, much less.
I believe that.
What do you mean?
And,
I've watched plenty of wrestling.
Cabana Man Dan says top 10 or we have heat, Scott Hensley. So you keep that in mind. Which, hey man, Cabana Man Dan has been killing it. I don't know if you've been watching his matches, but man, I'm telling you, he looks good. He's in the best shape of his life. And I mean, the matches I have watched of his on IWTV have really had like a big fight feel. They've felt special compared to the other things on the card. And I've messaged him, about a few of those and told him right after I got to watch them, like, hey man, that was an awesome, awesome match. So we'll all have heat with you if he's not ranked pretty high. And so just so Xanders doesn't cry himself to sleep tonight, you're still number 1 for Steve Pleasing. So
can I tell a Steve Pleasing story?
Please do.
We'll be doing a joke of the week soon. So
Steve Pleasing worked at Willow and WA, probably over in West Alabama.
He's bunning out again.
Oh no! Is it again? It's again.
Right in the Steve Pleasing story too. This is terrible.
Okay, I'm back.
There you are. All right.
Okay. All right, we're back in.
Get your stuff
Let me know when you guys can see me.
Where are you?
We can hear you. That'll have to be good enough.
COVID. Go on, Steve Pleasing. Uh-oh. Is it down again? Oh man, it's that kid, man. You could do it.
Steven Down says he hasn't seen Scott since he was a ring announcer for NWA in Scottsboro.
Scottsboro. Oh, what a great scene.
Well,
Man Dan says he's trying to leave us with a
man.
cliffhanger. All right, you're back in. All right, let's.
I can hear you
see if we
guys, or I can see the
can hear you.
comments.
Seeing you. Give it a shot. Damn it! Now he's completely gone. He bunned out completely.
Yeah.
Right. Commander Man Dan says Roddy unplugged the modem.
That's what I'm thinking.
All right, he's bunning back in here. Let's see here.
Is he gonna get back in?
All right, we're gonna try it again. Add the stream. All right, he's back.
Okay,
Hey.
so Steve Pleasing and I were taking down the ring after the show, and this kid comes up, and I was talking to him, and I was like, what are you going to do with your life, or what are you going to do after school? And he goes, I don't know, I probably just smoke weed like my brother. I said, oh, come on. I said, you can do better than that. And he looks at Steve Pleasing. He goes, that guy smokes weed. And I looked over at Steve Pleasing, and Steve Pleasing goes, there was no confirming or denying. It was just this really awkward.
Yeah, I totally believe that. We're not questioning that story at all. What a great picture! We like froze on you, like laughing maniacally there for about a good 12 seconds.
Oh man!
All right,
Steve Pleasing. That sounds like a Steve Pleasing story, and
we're gonna get Steve Pleasing on here. I know he doesn't want to appear on camera, but we're gonna get him on here sooner or later. So speaking of getting people on here real quickly, we started running through this a minute ago, but on the 6th, we're going to have Gary Lamb from Southern Honor. On the 13th, we'll have Bubba Cagle. On the 20th, we're going to have Georgia Wrestling History's Larry Goodman. So that should be fun. On the 27th, we'll have Brian Trammell, Richard Mullican, and Josh Briley from P3 Radio. And so we got some fun shows coming up. That's going to finish out the year. Hopefully everybody shows up. But if not, then we'll call upon somebody to wait a minute. Hensley's back. All right, we're gonna try to wrap it up now.
Yeah.
Are you there? Can you hear us?
Yep, I'm still here. So did you guys get the end of that story?
Yes, Steve Pleasing's a delinquent. Yes.
Yes.
He's like, ah.
Is his video any better on your end? Because it's not.
No, it's froze completely. All right, buddy. Like I said, we're gonna hit you up and get you back on here soon. But in the meantime, thanks for coming on and
still clocking on me.
Have a great week. Take care.
Bye, Scott.
All right.
So I do want to put over, like, he was talking about action wrestling, and I know he's big into that, and I know he's got a lot to do with Scenic City, and I know he's got a lot to do with TWE, whether it's, small stuff like promoting it and stuff like that. I want to promote that too. Those are all good companies that, if you're looking to get a step in the business and looking to get good advice, which is very hard to come by, go to these shows, talk to Scott's a straight shooter. He'll give it to you as about as straight as it comes. And then, just try to, Pleasing for life, yes. But try to get, if you're looking to get out there in the Tennessee and North Alabama regions, Scott Hensley's someone you could hit up, and he'll be honest with you. And he was always honest with me. I respect Scott. That's why I had him on here. But yeah, Gene, let's go ahead and close this puppy out.
That's right. He doesn't like Scott for his honesty, but he does respect him. So there's that. So yeah, despite COVID, there's a lot of great shows going on across the South. So go check them out. Go support them. And next weekend, if you want to see Cabana Man Dan, you can go to the New South Winter Wars Rumble down there in Hanceville.
Yep.
Always a lot of surprises that pop out in that show. So should be a great show.
Steve Pleasing's always at Rocket City every time. Let's see.
Yep, go check out Rocket City. That's another great Pro South every Friday night.
Yeah, Bad Boy Pro.
What's that? VCW over in Gadsden.
VCW. I haven't seen any.
Bad Boy Pro in Hanceville.
Yeah, Pro South.
And of course, like we said, every Saturday night, Mickey Henry making it happen over there in Boaz, just like
Well,
he's
that's
done
all
for the
about.
last 57 years, back when he trained Arn Anderson and anybody else that's ever been successful in wrestling. Mickey had something to do with training them. So, and that's he made Charles Anders the wrestler he is today.
100%. Go get trained by him.
All right. Thanks for everybody who listened tonight. Thanks for everybody who has commented. You helped make the show a lot more fun, a lot more interactive. And please, please, please go like the Cheap Heat TV Live Facebook page. Go follow us on Twitter. Share the broadcast with your friends, and you can check out the audio version on Anchor. We share it every Monday night on my personal Facebook page. Charles shares it, and as well on the Cheap Heat TV Live page. So eventually we want to get to where we do everything off the Cheap Heat TV Facebook. So please go like it. Tell your friends to go like it. Share us on Twitter, and we will see you next Sunday night at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern with Southern Honor Wrestling's Gary Lamb. Have a great week, and thanks for watching.
Bye, guys.
And listen.